All right, it's tomorrow morning. It's about 31 degrees here in the shop, so it's nice and cool. I've got all three 1500 watt heaters blaring. I need to get this thing up. As you'll notice, my unit's not on the wall anymore. Yesterday when I was bending the copper, it got a little soft and I didn't think much of it. I thought, you know what, I'm okay. This morning, woke up earlier than I wanted to and laying there in bed just wondering if that bend was a kink. So I decided to go a little bit further today and look into what actually happened. And so what I did was I pulled it off the wall and I cut this sleeve. It was down here already, but I cut this this insulation the rest of the way down. And this is something that that MRCOOL didn't tell me, or I had no knowledge of. They're expecting that to come straight out of the wall or straight through the wall, and that's fine. But if you try and do a bend right here, this is a different type of pipe. It is not this straight, smooth copper pipe. It's not even the ribbed stuff like this that you get in the line set. It's a much bigger ridge. And if you look here in the pictures, you'll be able to see that right here, it kinked just a little bit. And what I did was I contacted a local HVAC guy and sent him some pictures and talked to him about it. And he recommended, with zero liability, that I just try and bend it back. Because my thought was, if I need to do a weld on this, it's going to be better to do it before I charge the system and now have to purge all of the refrigerant out. I just have to deal with whatever's in here. He agreed on that. That would have saved quite a bit of money, several $100s in fact. But his recommendation was just try and bend it back a little bit, see if you can get that kink out a little bit. It was a very minor kink. He said it didn't think it looked that bad, as you see in the first picture. And in the second picture is how I ended up getting it bent back to where it's not that bad. The point that I want to make right here is, right here, this welded section, that will not bend. I knew once I connected these here, that part's not going to bend, and I've seen people run into an issue with that where they're trying to run it this way and bend it out, and then this bend is in the wall and they can't make that bend. This portion right here won't bend. I needed that to bend smooth. It wouldn't. And so when I was trying to bend that, I wasn't aware that that was a solid straight point, and that's why it flexed more right there. Once I had this open and was aware of that, I was able to more easily bend here, put more of the arc in there, and then the rest of the arc here, not trying to bend there. So if you're trying to drop this straight into a wall, just make sure that you don't try and put too much force on that spot right there, because it won't bend. If you're running this straight through your wall, no problem. Do it exactly as MRCOOL says. I'm going to throw some electrical tape on this and get it back up on the wall and get back to work. All right, before we go outside and actually get cold, yeah, it's up to a little bit warmer in here. I think it's up to 44 in here now. But before we go outside and get really cold, I wanted to let you know the next thing that MRCOOL doesn't tell you. It's not a bad thing, it's just would be nice to know. And that's how big this thing is, how big of an envelope we need for this outside unit. Well, this is just the box. I've got the actual unit over there, and the measurements I'm going to give you are off the unit itself. It is 32 inches tall. It is 41 inches wide, and it is 16 inches deep. Add that to the envelope that you need around it. MRCOOL recommends that you have 60-inch tall area to put this in, 76-inch wide area to put this in, and 28 inches deep from the front of this to the wall, and then they want another 79 inches in front of it clear. So that's going to give you a really big envelope in front, over 100 inches total this way. They do recommend that if you're in a high wind area and you've got high wind blowing this way, that you put an air dam in front of it. They don't give a specification as for where that how close that air dam should be. But those are your areas you're going to need: 60 inches tall, 76 inches wide, 28 inches deep to fit the 24K unit. So let's get outside and see if we can find an area that's big enough for that. I was planning on a much smaller area. Even with this being as big as it was, I was planning on a smaller area. So this may adjust where it's going a little bit. Let's go to it. All right, so this is where we're gonna put it, is right here under these stairs. This is kind of in the North 40, so this has been my storage area for future building supplies. So I've got a lot of stone and a couple fans out here. This is kind of my accumulation for garbage spots. So all this stuff's gonna have to get moved. As you can see, right here is where we cut that hole in the wall. So that's where the line set's coming out. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the unit right here, facing out. And so I need to have 28 inches. I got 30.5 out to this bar, so it can actually go kind of right back here. I'm hoping to do it 70 inches, 76 inches. Puts me right about here. On that, the last 12 inches of that, it's just clearance area. So I think I'm gonna put its corner right here next to this bar, maybe back a little bit. That's gonna give me all my line set connectors over here. It doesn't give me a full envelope of 60 inches tall all the way to the 24 inches, but this thing's 41 inches wide, so that'll put it right to about here. So that'll give me this area to get in and work. It's not as much area as I would like, but it'll give me the area to work. And what I may end up doing is sliding it that way, doing the connections, and then sliding this way. Or, you know, I may just do the connections in place so I can tell that I've got enough room if I ever have to get in and work there, work on this. If you are a AC technician that ever has to come out to my house and work on this, and you've got to work in this little tiny area, I apologize to you up front. But I'm going to get everything moved from the hole this way, so I've got room to move, room to work, and get her done. Let's get to work.